Fridays during the Noon Report, we give you direct connection to what's happening in Albany and Harrisburg with the experts on the issues at the state capitals. They are Jason McGuire with New York Families and Michael Geer at the Pennsylvania Family Institute. Well, Michael, I want to begin with you this week. Congratulations. You now have your first $50+ billion state budget. Never been that high before, but it is now. The Shapiro spending plan went public this week. I know he's pushing pot big time, Michael, and that's what you've been fighting here for several years. Want to know if Republican resistance in the state Senate will be enough this year.
Well, we certainly hope so. The Republicans have stood firm in the past sessions. We're hoping that they're going to be able to do so this time around as well. The evidence of the big lobbyists, the big marijuana lobbyists being at the Capitol is very significant. The issue really is whether the people of Pennsylvania, whether the citizens of Pennsylvania will awaken and communicate with their elected officials about the dangers that come with the legalization and commercialization of so-called recreational marijuana. It's a troubling issue and one that we're going to continue to fight here at the Pennsylvania Family Institute.
Well, Jason, Tish James making news again for all the wrong reasons. New York's Attorney General has told hospitals to ignore President Trump's ban on federal funding for sex change operations on minors. We're talking about kids here. She says this ban violates state law. Is there a jurisdictional issue here, or does the AG have a point?
Well, I think she's definitely going to find this one heading to court, because we're looking at federal funding, which she has no control over. And the Trump administration is warning these hospitals, all of which receive federal funding, that if they engage in these procedures and they go about mutilating children through these surgeries, they will not be receiving those federal funds. Now, the state may try to backfill that, but there's just only so many dollars to go around. I think the Attorney General is intentionally trying to muddy the waters for political purposes.
Yeah, one of the big efforts that's underway at the PA Family Institute this year, Michael, is to expose the rot that is Planned Parenthood. And you've uncovered some collusion here between that organization and the Reading School District. What's going on here, and why should our listeners be concerned?
Yeah, this report that was done by a good friend of ours at Pennsylvania Family Institute, Meg Brock, and who is a contributor to the Daily Caller, has found that Planned Parenthood signed an agreement with the Reading School District, partnering with them to provide sex education, but included in that is gender ideology, all kinds of after-school programs that promote the LGBTQ plus agenda, as they call it. They did things like getting young adults to come in there and paint naked transgender bodies, perform in what they call condom Olympics. I hate to even talk about this kind of stuff, but that's what Planned Parenthood wants to bring into the schools, and when a school district or a school board decides to partner with Planned Parenthood, that's what they get.
Yeah, and that's why we need Christians running for school board elections this year in Pennsylvania. So if you don't want that kind of stuff in your school, get involved, folks. Jason, Governor Hochul this week signed, I think it's called the SHIELD Act. It would protect doctors who prescribe out-of-state abortifacients. The state of Louisiana is suing New York here. Can you explain a little bit more what's going on?
Essentially, under this new law, what the governor is saying is that doctors who prescribe these abortion pills, especially out of state, will not have to put their name on the prescription any longer. It will be only the practice of the doctor, not the doctor's specific name. And that comes to bear in cases like the Louisiana case, where there was a doctor in New York who sent pills to Louisiana on behalf of a woman who gave the pills to the daughter, in this case, who suffered some medical complications. Now, bear in mind, in that case, the New York doctor never even spoke to the woman who took the pills. That is not safety. That is not concern. We're not caring for women in this. We're caring about political agendas.
Yeah, seems like medical malpractice to me. Michael's talking about the sanctity of human life issue. I know a lot of pro-lifers have some concerns about Robert Kennedy Jr. as the next health secretary. It looks like that will become official next week. RFK adamantly pro-choice. this. How concerned should pro-lifers be with him being the guy that dictates health policy in this country?
Well, I think the concern is a real one. I think, though, because that concern has been raised already with this nomination, that there were assurances provided by RFK Jr. to senators who were questioning him about that issue, and he at least promised that he would not be promoting a pro-abortion agenda as the HHS secretary. So the thought that comes to mind, or the phrase that comes to my mind, is trust but verify. Continue the pressure, to continue to watch what's going on there, and to make sure that he follows through with that commitment that he made to some of the United States senators.
There's an interesting Siena poll out this week on Governor Hochul, Jason, still underwater with the voters. I think just a 39% favorability rating. Many of her policies, the policies that she laid out in her State of State speech, remain popular. So I got to ask you, why the disconnect? If the policies are popular, why is the governor so not popular? That survey goes on to say just 3 in 10 New Yorkers, if the election were today, just 3 in 10 New Yorkers would vote for Governor Hochul.
Yeah, I think you've got a number of things going on. One, I think you do have the affordability issue, that people are looking at their wallets and they're concerned. And even though the governor has used the word affordability, as we referenced just in the piece a minute ago, the word abortion is the one that seems to keep coming up to the actions she's taking. And so there is this discrepancy between her rhetoric and her record that I think voters recognize. And that seems to be the issue that is coming up in her race and may be problematic for her in 2026.
Yeah, Michael, I thought it was interesting. Donald Trump, one of the executive orders he's signing, would dismantle U.S. Education Department. He told the nominee for that department, Linda McMahon, to kind of work herself out of a job as best she can. He wants it at the state level. School choice is very big at the federal level. Back to the governor's speech on Tuesday. Did Governor Shapiro say anything at all about those lifeline scholarships or his appetite for school choice in this session?
Well, the governor is known to be somebody who wants to be president. We saw that in the election campaign last year in the presidential race when he was almost selected to be the vice presidential candidate, and he has made his desire for that to be known. And promoting school choice is not something that is very popular with the Democratic establishment. So he's been pretty tepid about it, and I don't know if we can expect him to be negotiating that issue in this legislative session, given his political ambitions going forward.
Is the bill, the Clean Outlet bill, still going to be reintroduced, or is it just a wait and see?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, okay. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the pressure will still be maintained, and I didn't mean to sound so negative that it's not going to happen. I'm hopeful that it will, but we understand that the voice of the people needs to be heard in support of school choice. That's what we're seeing in Washington, and we need to see in Harrisburg.
And you think on a federal level, at least, if he's interested in president, that's a winning strategy, school choice. Yeah. Jason, we'll end with you. This kind of an interesting story that came out this week. New York's Republican congressional delegation, I think there's 6 of them, says there's some tomfoolery going on here when it comes to fill in that 21st District congressional seat. That's Elise Stefanik's North Country congressional seat. She's moving on to the Trump administration. There is worry here that the U.S. Justice Department may have to get involved here if that seat is left vacant for months. What are Democrats doing here, and why is it so concerning to you?
Yeah, so a week ago there was a secret meeting, and the House Speaker Hakeem Jeffries had actually spoken with Governor Kathy Hochul, and then a number of Democrats in the state Senate in particular were working on a plan to delay the election to replace Elise Stefanik until sometime this June, likely, when there would be many more Democratic voters likely to turn out, helping them. Now, remember, the House is very narrowly divided. So this is really problematic because we often hear from the Democrats talking about democracy is under attack. We hear about disenfranchising voters, and now we will be leaving an entire swath of the state of New York without representation in Congress if this were to happen. Earlier this week, I was pleased to participate in a press conference with many Republican and conservative leaders speaking out against this effort to essentially rig the election for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, and I think when Stefanik makes it official, she becomes a UN ambassador. Hochul has, 10 days to announce the election for that seat?
Under current law, she has 10 days to announce the election, and then it really has to happen within about 3 months. Gotcha. This would delay this to a lot longer time period.
All right. Tomfoolery in Albany. We're going to expose everything we can when it comes to that. And if folks have any question about any issue they heard on today's program, I know both of you would love to hear from our listeners. So much going on, Michael. Where can folks find out out more about the Pennsylvania Family Institute.
PAFamily.org.
And stay informed on all the issues in New York. Jason McGuire, New York Families, where are you at?
NewYorkFamilies.org.
All right, we don't stand for tomfoolery around here. Thank you, guys. Capital Connection comes your way Fridays during the Noon Report. You can subscribe, listen to, and share this feature along with all our original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or FamilyLife.org.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at FamilyLife.org.